When one of your offensive linemen says the snap issue is on the whole line, it's the responsibility of the whole line to fix. What does that mean to you, and how does that kind of reinforce your philosophy within your room?
Everybody's shortcomings and their success is on the offensive line. Certainly, I take just as much blame as anybody for the snaps, and we got to fix it. And when he say the whole line, there is no one individual person in any offensive line, right? So, we're looking at Cam and, a snap that, goes over a guy's head or is mishandled. But that's on the right tackle, that's on the left tackle. We have to hold them accountable. Everybody has to hold them accountable. That's the reason why we say it's on the whole line. When a guy gives up a sack, it's not just one guy that gives up a sack, it's the whole line that's affected. They don't say in the stat sheet that this guy gave up a sack. It says how many sacks were given up. And that's a reflection of the offensive line, right? So that's how we think, and that's how we function.
How aggressive has Minnesota been with their front? I know they had Carter Coughlin coming back, a guy that was about 10 sacks last year. I mean, what have they done up front, and how aggressive do you expect them to be?
I expect them to be aggressive. They're an undefeated team. I mean, they do a good job.
Do they bring more than 4 a lot, or are they?
No, not necessarily. They play some base defenses and they certainly bring their pressures when they feel like they need to bring their pressures. Without giving you as much information as I have right now, they do a good job of knowing their system and being in the gaps that they're assigned to and attacking the line of scrimmage. And they're good. They're a Big Ten team. They're good.
It certainly looked to us that Matt Farniok had one of his better games against Northwestern. How much do you think a performance like that and how he graded out could maybe build his confidence a little bit?
Good. I mean, with all these guys, it's fundamentals, and fundamentals and matchups, and Matt Farniok has gotten better every single week. Now certainly, there's a play in 2 or 3 that you can pick out from a couple of other games where you're like, you didn't do this right or you didn't do that right. But, Matt's been doing a good job, for the most part, all year. There's certain plays that we want back, in protection, like the ones that against Ohio State, the one that we had against Illinois. But overall, I thought he's done a pretty damn good job out there, and he needs to continue to get better at certain fundamentals. But, it's a confidence booster, and, he'll do a good job again this week as well. That's the expectation.
You're obviously coaching this top group too, but you also have 7 freshmen that you're trying, I think, to sort of shepherd around. How's that process going week to week with
shepherd?
all those?
That's a great word. Couldn't be a better word than that.
Okay, good.
It is a shepherd.
How is that going? How does that go week to week?
It's good. It's always I'm like a fireman. I'm a fireman and a shepherd at the same time.
Yeah.
Right? You got to put out fires and then you got to start the fire in some cases with some of these young guys, and you got to lead them. You got to lead them. You got to make sure that you're adding value to them. The young guys, and especially the young guys that are playing, that have the opportunity to play. But you can't, as a young guy or as a coach, get down on them when they're still in their big time growth and maturity phases of their transition from high school to college, or from dependence to independence. And that's the shepherding part of it. Where, like I said, there's always something to put. There's always a guy that you got to hold accountable to his weight. There's always a guy that you got to hold accountable to get your ass to class. There's always a guy that you got to hold accountable to make sure you're on time to this. Some of those smaller things that you have to do. It's part of the job. And then on the field, getting those guys to understand the overall picture of what we're trying to get accomplished. And our older guys do a really good job of coaching them as well. So I'm really happy to have those.
We won't talk to you for a while after this. With the bye week coming, do you guys do anything additional for those freshmen? Are you going to have some scrimmages or things to kind of let those young guys turn loose over the bye week?
That's a question for the $5 million man, brother. I mean, that's a question for the head coach.
I didn't know if like you guys.
I mean, we do have practices, but I don't know about scrimmages or anything else like that. You got to ask the head ball coach about that one, bro.
Get through Saturday first.
Let's get through Saturday, and then let's talk about that next week, playing next week, right? No, but we have a little time to get off, and then the guys get recovered. And then the young guys, we do have some plans to get those guys in the scheme, in the system, and we do have some scrimmages on Fridays. We do have Friday scrimmages with those young guys, and they've proven beneficial for us to progress those guys. There's a few guys that are playing for us now, across the team that were in those scrimmages on Fridays throughout the year last year. So I'm just looking forward to a bye week. I'm looking forward to a bye week. Because I haven't had a bye week in the last 4 years, so looking forward to that. What door is that?
Are any of those young guys still? Last question. Are any of those young guys still with working with the top group as a potential 4-game guy? Piper was a little bit.
With the top group, not necessarily the top group, but they're working with. Absolutely, they're working with the ones and twos, so to speak, right? The first and second team groups as guys that will contribute. Yes, Bryce Benhards, Ethan Pipers, those are the guys.